All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. The X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here from our studios of the X Zone Broadcast Network in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us tonight on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, XZoneNation, I always enjoy reading your emails. My email address is xzone@classic1220.ca. My first guest tonight, Xzone is Lynda Quirino. And she is in Keswick, Ontario, which is, I was talking to Lynda just before we went on air, and she was telling me Keswick is about a half hour north of Newmarket, and one of the very first stations the X Zone was broadcast on was CKDX, and I think it's 98 point something up in Newmarket, Ontario. Great place, lovely people. And joining me now is Lynda Quirino, and we're going to be talking to Lynda about the paranormal investigations, including experiences with ghosts and hauntings, full-bodied apparitions, elementals, UFO experiences, and various methods of communications and investigation. And this is what I loved about the information she sent us. She says, I have been in this wacky field for 43 years and have much experience with old-school investigative techniques as well as some of the newer equipment, though I'm not an equipment-heavy investigator. Lynda, welcome to the X Zone.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
Well, it's great having you here, especially a fellow Ontarian. Woohoo!
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Keswick, that's a beautiful part of the country. Is that on the 400 going north?
It's actually on the 404, and we're on the beautiful shores of Lake Simcoe.
Oh, Lake Simcoe is beautiful.
Yes. Well, we have our very own monster in Lake Simcoe. I don't know if you know that, but we do.
Well, I thought that was one of my ex-girlfriends, but I guess there is another. Yeah. Well, what's the name of the monster?
You know what? There's all kinds of different names, but we just call it, Lake Simcoe Monster. That's all we call it. And I'm sure that there are a couple of people I know. One in particular, Rod Urquhart, who is a local celebrity newspaperman. He knows all the names, but we just call it the Monster. And believe it or not, I actually got a picture, we think, of the monster inadvertently when I was taking some shots of the lake from St. George's Churchyard, where Stephen Leacock is buried in Sibbald's Point. So they're using that for a book that is coming out about the Lake Simcoe monster. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of lake monsters in Canada. There's one in Champlain, Lake Champlain, that borders the province of Quebec and state of New York. It's called Champ. We have one here in Lake Erie called Erie Pogo. Let me see. No, I'm serious, yeah. Let me see what else is there. There's Ogopogo in British Columbia.
Right.
My God, I used to know them all. Oh, wait a minute. Lake Memphremagog. There's Menfrey.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and whole bunch of lake monsters. But first of all, before we get into the good stuff and, the wacky things that you've been up to, let's talk about who you are. How did you get involved in what you're doing?
Well, I got involved when I was very young
Mm-hmm.
because I had experiences as a child. And, silly me, I shared them with my friends.
Uh-huh.
And so going through high school, CEGEP, because I'm actually from Montreal
Oh, wait a second.
originally.
Hold on here.
Yeah.
What part of Montreal?
I'm actually from Saint Laurent.
Well, isn't that funny? Because I'm originally from Montreal.
Really?
Really?
I
And
did not know this.
obviously, you didn't read my
No.
bio. I'm from Montreal, and we lived in Dollar Des Ormeaux, and then I was with the police force, and I was in Hudson, Quebec for a while, and yeah, beautiful, Ville Saint Laurent. Were you
Yeah,
near?
Ville Saint Laurent.
Were you near Canadair, the old Canadair airport?
Actually, we were down the road from Vanier College.
Oh, right, one of the best sea
Hmm.
jets in Canada.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I went to CEGEP, and I walked back and forth to school
Hmm.
every day. And honestly, whatever weather, who cares? When you're from Montreal, you don't care. You just do it. You walk back and forth. You put on the coat.
Yeah.
You put on the mucklucks, and you go.
Yeah, it's so funny because here in Ontario we hear people say, "Oh, it's cold. Oh, look at the snow," and I go, "What are you talking about? Come on,
Exactly.
come on." Anyway, great to have a fellow Montrealer with us tonight, and so you had some weird and wacky. What kind of like what happened that you would tell your friends at school and they kind of look at you as if you had three eyes?
Well, it was an interesting thing because when I was really little, my parents had a cottage and it was in the Laurentians in a place called Newaygo,
Hmm.
which is not too far from Morin Heights. You probably know
Yep,
Morin
I sure
Heights.
do.
And so they had a cottage up there and we went all the time. But
Hmm.
when I was, and I'm going to say really young, I'm going to say 3 or 4, and I
Okay.
still remember it like it was yesterday, they would
Hmm.
put me to sleep in the bedroom, which was on the main floor.
Okay.
And I remember going to bed and hearing everybody else still up and doing whatever they were doing.
Hmm.
But because it was sort of, dark-ish in the room,
Right.
all of these faces would come in and out and kind of say hello to me and make wacky faces, trying to make me laugh. And I thought it was hilarious. So, of course, as a little child, I would tell my parents, there's people in that room when I go to sleep, and they do weird things and they wear strange hats.
Hmm.
So my mother said, "What kind of hats?" She never made fun of me. Both my parents are very creative. They never made fun of me. They always were very curious as to, what was going on in the world. So they asked me questions, and I told them they have funny hats that have like a dent in them. So that was that. And of course, I kept seeing them. I kept seeing them for at least a couple of years. And then they kind of went away. You hear stories of
Yeah.
children who see things, and then all of a sudden, the world gets in the way, and then they don't see things anymore. That's sort of what happened to me. But interestingly enough, we were watching cartoons one day, and we were watching Dudley Do Right. And I
Of the
pointed to
North,
the,
Dudley Do
yeah,
Right of the Northwest Mounted Police and his
yeah,
girlfriend Nell. Or is that his horse? I forget.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's
thank
very
you.
good.
Hey, I'm
But
I'm
we were
great at kids'
watching that.
parties. Yeah.
Was weird because I pointed to the TV screen and said, those are the hats that they wore when they kept looking at me at night. And my mother said to me, well, you realize that that particular room, your grandfather built the cottage over an old Mountie station. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I seriously here for a second or two.
Hmm.
Children have the ability, I believe, to see, hear, and experience things that we as adults are taught to forget because we're born into a world where there is no such thing as negative influence until we start going to school, and this is where things start changing. And you know, our grandchildren talked about angels, and we never, my wife and I never discouraged talking like that. Because if we understand that there is much more to this existence than we could ever imagine. And if anybody thinks we're actually close to understanding what this world is about, I think that they need to just go to sleep, wake up again, and say, okay, let's try this again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm telling you,
Mhm.
it's a really interesting thing because even now we get so many messages from people who have little children
Mhm.
who ask us, okay, so is it true that children can see and hear and experience things that we can't? Because my kid is seeing things and
Mhm.
experiencing things, and I'm a little freaked out. So, but to my parents' credit, they weren't freaked out at all. They were very intrigued. And I thought it was really interesting that the cottage was actually built over this room, which was an old Mountie station, and that I would experience what I guess at the time I thought were funny people, but they were obviously coming in and saying hello and
Yeah.
probably just stuck in that space.
Have you ever done any research to find out if any of the members who actually resided there died there? Or why do you think that the Mounties from years gone by who left this plane were actually still there?
You know, it's interesting because I do believe that there's
Mhm.
sort of an imprint of place.
Okay.
And if a person is very rooted to that particular place, if they have any experiences there that they might consider to be either
Mhm.
wonderful, helpful, or even tragic, I think that they may go back to that place to see what's going on. I don't necessarily think that they're stuck there, though. I do think that they probably came in and out because it was a memory place. I mean, we all have memory places, right? We
Yes.
have places that
Yeah.
are, they affect us. I mean, that's what they are. The atmosphere in that place just kind of makes an imprint on
Mhm.
who we are, on our energetic, reality. So I think that's probably what happened. But no, I mean, gosh, my parents sold the cottage when I was quite young. And I didn't really get into paranormal investigation until a few years, obviously, after that. But it was certainly a memory that I had, and it influenced everything in my life going forward. I mean, I would share experiences like that in the schoolyard,
Mhm.
and people would say, "Oh, there's no such thing as ghosts." And I would say,
Ah.
"Well, I believe that there are." And they would say, "No, of course not." And then, of course, they would take me aside when nobody was looking and say, "Okay, can we talk about some of the experiences that I had? Because
Yeah.
I don't have anybody that I can talk to."
Lynda, stand by, my dear. You and I have to take our
Yes.
first break. And Nation Lynda Quirino is our special guest. And the website is Georgina Paranormal Society .weebly.com. Ghosts, the paranormal, things that go bump in the night, UFOs. That's what this show is all about. Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight. Right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Now, I think I know why you sounded so strange on the telephone. Well, it's hard when you discover what keeps you going, keeps you all alone. I dream so real. You thought the smoke might never clear, and you hide it all behind endless cigarettes and tears. Somebody waits for the time, I know it never comes. You get yourself so high and you come down feeling blue. One day you wake up and realize you've had enough.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Lynda Quirino is our special guest, and their website, or her website with the Georgina Paranormal Society, is www.georginaparanormalsociety.weebly.com. Wow. And when was it that you decided to, you know, do investigations and, form the Georgina Paranormal Society?
Well, I actually started doing investigations a long time ago, 43 years ago. But I did them by myself
Mm-hmm.
at the time, and with friends who I was willing or who were willing to accompany me. But I formed the Georgina Paranormal Society in 2012, long time after I first started. Um, but, when I lived in Montreal, I did them by myself, with friends, and then when I
Mm-hmm.
got married, my husband was transferred 2 weeks after we got married in Montreal, transferred to Toronto. And when I got to Toronto, a few years went by. I still continued to do them by myself in Toronto, a city that I really didn't know very well. And then I did join the Toronto Ghosts and Hauntings Research Society, and I was there for about 7 years as the assistant director. And after that, I formed my own because people sort of north of Highway 7, where
Mm-hmm.
we live, they had really no resource. So I thought, well, may as well give them one. So,
So that's the story behind it.
yeah, the story behind it.
And how haunted is the area where you live?
Well, where we live, it's quite haunted. We have some very important landmarks. For example, the cemetery where Stephen Leacock is buried,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Mazo de la Roche she's also buried there, and that's St. George's Churchyard. A lot of stories about St. George's Churchyard. We also have in Georgina, we have of course the lakefront. We have a lot of beaches, a lot of lakefront,
Mm-hmm.
and as you know, there's so many stories about not only monsters in the lake, but also water spirits, elemental spirits, ghostly boats, and all kinds of things like that. And of course, UFOs above the water. So we have a lot of stories up here about UFOs.
So why do you think paranormal investigations and investigating the claims of the paranormal is so important?
Well, I really think that it's so important because so many people do experience unexplained phenomena, and they feel very much alone when they experience them. And they feel kind of crazy. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to tell anybody, but they do feel the need to share what they've experienced because it does affect them emotionally and psychologically, and sometimes spiritually. So they feel that they need to say something, and they do need people that listen and people that can actually come out and help them to deal with it. And in many cases, especially my particular team, we try to, well, not really eradicate the problem, but we try to allow the person experiencing them to deal with it, to maybe put it to rest in some way.
Now, are there different types of ghosts in your opinion, or is there one type of ghost? Is there one type of haunting, or is each haunting and sighting of an apparition unique in its very own right?
Well, I think that for sure each one is very unique, and
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there are different types of ghosts and spirits, whatever you want to call them. I mean, you've got things like residual hauntings. You've also got active hauntings that you can communicate with,
Mm-hmm.
and you also have poltergeist types of hauntings. You've got all kinds of what I like to call rogue spirits, which are spirits that maybe have not even become human or have been human ever. Things that you can bring in with divination tools such as a Ouija board, things that you don't really know how to control because there's so much around us that we're
Right.
not really aware of, and so many people are not um, really, I guess, skilled enough to understand. And there's so much that we don't understand. I mean, honestly, I think, until some spirit taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, Linda, let me tell you the nature of the universe." I mean, we're not going to understand it. I'm not going to understand it. But we can talk about it. And I think that's the most interesting thing. But yeah, I think there's different types of hauntings, different types of
Mm-hmm.
ghosts for sure.
Do you think that it's really necessary to investigate the paranormal? Is it really make a difference at the end of the day what we investigate, how we investigate, and ultimately what we find out? How is it going to change anything that we're actually experiencing right now?
That's a good question. I think, we're naturally, I think,
Hmm.
curious as individuals and we want to know why. Certainly, some people don't. I mean, in my experience, I've met people that have had things happen and they kind of brush them under the rug because they feel, well, what I don't know isn't going to hurt me.
Hmm.
And I get that for sure. But I think for the most part, people who have these experiences, they want to know why because they're out of the ordinary. I mean, you talk about supernatural. I mean, they are absolutely out of the ordinary. So it's intriguing. So I think at the end of the day, that's why we do it. I don't know if it will make a difference.
Hmm.
I think year after year, the investigative techniques of the paranormal are different, and how people go about doing what we do is different. But I don't know. I just think that we have a natural affinity to know why and to investigate. And people who have experiences, they want evidence. They want proof that they're not going crazy. So I think that ultimately is probably why we all do it.
Is it possible that we all do it because no one wants to believe that once you die, that's it? That ghost stories, hauntings, actually give us hope that there is much more to this existence.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. I mean, you'll see people, on TV, on the TV shows, and
Hmm.
they'll say, "Oh yeah, I don't believe any of this. I'm the biggest skeptic ever." But I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there that nobody can really explain scientifically or otherwise.
What kind of evidence?
Well, we've gotten some strange things that have happened to us. I've seen strange things
Hmm.
that I can't explain. I mean, I've seen a full body apparition. A lot of people in the field have never seen a full body apparition, and I actually had, well, I'm going to say the luck to see one. It was a little scary, not going to lie,
Hmm.
but it was also very intriguing, and I wasn't the only one to experience it at the time. So when you see something like that, it really does change who you are.
Tell us about that.
Um, I had been called to this lady's home in Mount Albert, which again it's in Ontario.
Hmm.
It's a little bit east of Newmarket, and there's a lot of old homes in the Mount Albert area. And this was a long time ago. This was, oh my gosh, early 90s. Anyway, um, interestingly enough, this woman had been seeing an elderly lady walking up and down the stairs, and she and her husband had bought this home and started renovating the home. And this is when, of course, all of the experiences happened. So
Hmm.
lights would go off and on, but that didn't bother them as much as them seeing this old lady walking up and down the stairs and up in the hallway upstairs. So she called me and heard of me through word of mouth. So I assembled a little bit of a team to go and check it out. So we camped out there all night thinking, hopefully, we'll see something. Of course, we saw nothing. We were there until, 5 o'clock in the morning. We were there all night. We had a little video camera. And at the time, those were very expensive. They're not like, the ones you can buy on Amazon now. So we had set that up and we had cameras and we had all kinds of things. And so I was sitting at the base of the stairs with another girl, and 5 o'clock rolled around, and we said, "Okay, this is it. We're done. Nothing's happening, nothing at all. Let's just pack it all up." So um, as soon as we packed up all of our equipment, that's when things always happen. And you'll talk to investigators who can certainly corroborate this. All of a sudden, it got incredibly cold. And this girl and I kind of looked at each other and thought, well, this is strange. The atmosphere is different in here. And then, sure enough, this woman um, was walking down the stairs, and she was an elderly lady. She was as solid as anything, as solid as you and me, except for the fact that she had no feet. She was gliding down the stairs. Now, the front door was at the bottom of the stairs, and literally she glided out of the door, which was closed. So that was an interesting experience. And what I did, which I'm glad I did, I said to this girl, okay, you saw something, right? She said, yes. And she was about to tell me what she saw. And I said, no, write it down, and I'll write down what I saw, and then we'll switch notebooks. And absolutely, she saw exactly what I saw. She was a little more afraid than I was. I was really intrigued. But the interesting thing was, as soon as she went through this front door, the air was much warmer. So it was freezing cold, and then, like magic, it was much warmer. So
Would you consider that a residual haunting?
I like to think that it was, because she you couldn't talk to her. She
Right.
certainly wasn't an active haunting. I think it was residual. She'd probably done this a million times throughout her life, and continued to do so.
Lynda, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our break for the bottom of the hour. Exonation, our guest this hour is Lynda Quirino. She's with the Georgina Paranormal Society. Their website is www.georginaparanormalsociety.weebly.com. And Lynda and I will be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca.
Sounded so strange on the telephone. Well, it's hard when you discover what keeps you going, keeps you all alone. I dream so real, you thought the smoke might never clear, and you hide it all behind endless cigarettes and tears.
T'es mon amour, je suis ta maîtresse. T'es tout ce que je veux, t'es tout ce que j'ai voulu. T'es mon amour de la tête aux fesses. Et plus ça va, le plus t'es mon ami. Une bonne fois, si tu veux, je te montrerai sans tricher un côté de moi comme je n'ai jamais osé montrer à qui que ce soit.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X, and I'm Rob McConnell, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca from the X Zone Broadcast Network studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Just down the road from where our guest of this hour lives. Her name is Lynda Quirino, and she's up in Keswick. And she is with the Georgina Paranormal Society. Their website is georginaparanormalsociety.weebly.com. First of all, thanks very much for joining us. This is very interesting. Are you
Well,
still there?
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. It's my pleasure. How many members of the Georgina Paranormal Society are there?
There are currently 5 of us, and we're all ladies.
Ooh.
And of different ages, different backgrounds, different talents. I'll say talents. That's a good thing.
Okay. What has been the scariest, creepiest investigation that you and the fine ladies of the Georgina Paranormal Society have been on? Where you've nearly had the hair on the back of your neck stand up, you got the goosey bumps coming down your arms, and you're saying, oh my God.
Yeah, we've had a couple of them. We had the great pleasure of going to beautiful Picton, Ontario.
Yes, that's beautiful down there, yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. And there was, and I don't know if it's been demolished yet, but in Picton they have a place called Prince Edward Heights, which used to be an army base, and then it was a hospital, and it was a hospital, kind of like, oh gosh, for the, shall we say, they used to call it the mentally incapacitated.
Oh, I thought that was Ottawa.
Yeah, right?
Parliament, you know.
No, well, there's that. But
Another show, another time, right?
but this place is really interesting, and I think it operated, well, obviously throughout the 70s and also the 80s. But when it closed up, it became very derelict and was bought by a paintball organization. So they were doing paintball things over there, and it was just crazy. I mean, there are 3 buildings, and it's just incredible. But it's derelict. They hold paranormal investigations there, or they did. So a lot of people actually went there, did investigations, and experienced things that we can't explain. I mean, the hair on the back of our neck was up on more than one occasion. We were there at least 3 times on different occasions, and one time we could not even walk into one of the buildings. It was like this force. It was something from Star Trek, where they put up that force field.
Yes, yeah.
It was like a force field, and it made both myself and my assistant director, Sherry, it made us physically ill. We couldn't even walk into this particular building this particular night. So that was a little daunting. I'd never had that happen to me before at all. And on another occasion, we got a lot of EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and it was pretty scary. Screams and sighs and all kinds of crazy things. And of course, a lot of orbs, which most paranormal investigators will tell you don't exist, but that's another story. That we can do an entire show on that one. But I think that was probably the scariest, and I think it was because you could walk into that location and you could feel the residual energy, but there were a lot of active spirits still there, because I do believe in that location, because of what it was, I think there were a lot of wandering souls that probably didn't understand what had happened to them and were remaining in that location. And as a matter of fact, they're tearing it down to build a subdivision there. So I wouldn't want to buy a house there.
Why do you think these ghosts, these spirits, remain in the same location all the time, especially if they're part of the what do they call them, tours now, where everybody, ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, keep going to the same location, like the Waverly or like this location? Why don't they just go to the other side?
I think there are a lot of them that, when you talk to, because we've worked with a lot of psychics, psychic mediums, I believe that a lot of them fear retribution on the other side. And I also think that some of them are very attached to the location, and they don't really want to leave. And I think they see that location as what it was when they were there. I don't think that they understand that it's derelict and that they need to move on to another, plane or level of existence. I think that they just don't understand that they need to move on, and they sometimes need a little bit of help. But I do think that, there's an emotional attachment maybe to that particular area. And, in the case of Picton, because a lot of them were very, emotionally not available, I think that they still wander around and they don't understand that they need to leave. So there's so many different reasons, I think, that they can stay. I really do.
I hear the explanation that there's a lot of they fear retribution.
Yeah.
Okay. If you believe in that, it makes sense. But if you do not believe in any religious philosophy that talks about retribution after death,
right?
So what do you have? A bunch of religious ghosts hanging around?
Right. I know. It's strange.
Yeah, it is.
It's very strange. And that's one of the things that, or one of the challenges, I think, as a paranormal investigator. You really have to, especially when you're doing, let's say, a haunting investigation in a residential area, you've got to really understand the people that you're working with, what their religious persuasions are, if they have any, because, their explanation is going to be different from somebody who doesn't have that. Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, we're never really going to know until we get there. We're not really going to know.
Yeah, I find it very confusing, and I'm sure that other people out there may as well, but something that we've discovered over the last couple of years is that there's a lot of infighting between paranormal groups about who's going to do what, where they're going to do, and what's evidence, what's not evidence.
Yeah, that drives me crazy, honestly. There's this thing that everybody aspires to called para-unity, right?
Yeah.
And whether or not that's ever going to exist is, at this point, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I think it would be great. But yeah, there's a lot of infighting. You're using the wrong equipment. You're using the equipment poorly. What are you doing? You're equipment heavy. You're not equipment heavy.
Oh,
there's
boy.
a lot of infighting. I think we all have to try and figure out how to get along.
Do you think that all this equipment is necessary?
Absolutely not. When I first started doing investigations, we didn't have all of the bells and whistles. We didn't have digital anything.
Right.
I think the first investigation that I did, and by the way, it was in Hudson, Quebec.
The Willow Inn?
No, it was a residential
Oh.
in Hudson. Beautiful old home. And I went there by myself, and I always tell people, don't ever go by yourself. I was a fledgling investigator, and I had a pencil and a pad of paper, and I had a camera with a flash cube on the top, and that's all I had.
And what did you find in that location in Hudson?
That was the first investigation I ever did. I was 18 years old, and I was really dumb going by myself. You never do that. And it was interesting. This lady, elderly lady, was telling me that things were moving in her house and things were being thrown at her. And she was afraid that she was going to be hurt. And again, it started happening once they started tearing walls down and taking wallpaper off the walls.
Oh, gosh.
I find that, when that happens, things start to happen. But what happened was I was interviewing her in her living room, and there was a fireplace in front of me, beautiful fireplace, with this gorgeous crystal ashtray on the fireplace mantle. And in my head, as she's talking to me, I kept saying, yeah, right. I don't know. I don't know if I believe her. I really don't think I believe her. And as soon as I said that in my head, the crystal ashtray
Whoops, I'm sorry about that.
off.
Yeah,
It flew off.
do you think that a lot of the paranormal communication between a spirit and an investigator is on the level of ESP?
You know what? I do believe so. I think that there are frequencies that, we don't understand that can be picked up on
Right.
by whatever it is out there. And certainly in that case, it happened because the crystal ashtray flew past my head and hit the wall behind me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a little scary.
Have you ever been physically assaulted by a spirit? I mean, besides having something thrown at you.
Luckily, no, I have not, but I have had a lot of clients who were
Really?
physical scratches, bruises. One man was scratched night after night for a month by something that he couldn't see, but was very animalistic in nature, and it disappeared as quickly as it arrived. And that was pretty scary as well.
Stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Miss Lynda Quirino, and she's with the Georgia Paranormal Society. Their website is Georgina Paranormal Society.weebly.com. And we'll be back as we wrap up this first hour of tonight's show here in the X Zone. And if you'd like to give us a call, send us an email. The email address is very simple, xzone at classic1220.ca. The lines are not open tonight, but they will be open starting next week. Sorry about that, gang. This is all part of technology. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get the upgrades, and sometimes, well, you're just SOL. Sorry, out of luck. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away, Exo Nation.
T'es mon amour, je suis ta maîtresse. T'es tout ce que je veux.
I used to be a rolling stone, If a cause was right, I'd leave to find the answer on the road. I used to be a heart beating for someone, but the times have changed. The less I say, the more my work gets done. 'Cause I live and breathe this Philadelphia freedom. From the day that I was born.
All right, Exo Nation, no matter where you are, if you're driving on the 401, if you're driving on the QEW, if you're in Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Welland, Fort Erie, please don't dance and drive. The Ontario Provincial Police and Niagara Regional Police don't like it when you do that, so please pull over to the side of the road, pretend you're on your cell phone, and have a good time. And once again, we thank each and every one of you for listening tonight here on the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. until midnight. That's right. Can you just imagine a world without the X Zone? Put your hand out, Craig, my producer. I wasn't including you in this conversation. You're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming at classic1220.ca. Lynda Quirino is our special guest. Quirino is our special guest. She's with the Georgia Paranormal Society. Georgina, why do I call it Georgia?
Oh, everybody does.
Really?
Trust me.
I trust you. How much money do you want? I know, you'll pay it back. Georgina Paranormal Society. www.georginaparanormalsociety.weebly.com. First of all, thanks very much for coming on the show. I love your energy and I love what you do, and you'll always be a welcome guest here.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Oh, we're a sweet bunch of guys over here, and gals.
You are.
We
You
try.
are.
Here's a quick question for you.
Yes.
A lot of paranormal shows seem to be going from ghost hauntings to demonic possessions, demons. What's the deal with that?
It makes for great TV. Let me tell you. It really makes for great TV. People want to see that. It's this whole sensationalism
Really?
thing. I mean, and that's what we as paranormal investigators are kind of coming up against now. People want to see stuff. They want to experience stuff. They want the demonic. They don't want the traditional kind of haunting where people walk out and see dimes and doves and cardinals, and they don't want that kind of stuff. No, they want to get scratched. They want to see somebody who shall remain nameless on the television show going, "Hey, dude, I just got scratched." I mean, they want that stuff. That's really what it's all about.
But don't they realize it's not real?
I don't think a lot of them understand that. I think they love the sensationalism, and they want to think that it's all real. I mean, they don't seem to understand too that do a public paranormal investigation, like around Halloween. Most of us do that kind of thing. They don't seem to understand that it's not a TV show. That you're watching hours and hours and hours of an investigation squeezed into a half an hour or an hour show.
Yeah.
And, you could sit in a room as a paranormal investigator for hours and hours and have nothing happen. Nothing.
It was just like being on the police force, and everybody expected you to solve the problem and the crime within the hour like they did on CSI. It doesn't work
Right.
that way. You're right. It
Oh,
takes hours and hours and hours, and sometimes weeks and months and even years when you're doing an investigation. So how do you deal with that? Because I'm sure you must get asked by people where you're going in to do an investigation. Is their house haunted? Is there any demonic presence? Do they have to call in an exorcist? How do you rationalize with these people that there's real paranormal, like you and your group take care of, and then there's the reality TV paranormal, which comes on your local TV station?
yeah, it's always a bit of a challenge, but I mean, I've been doing this for such a long time that I've come up with all kinds of solutions for people to kind of determine
Hmm.
whether what they're experiencing is a quote real haunting, or maybe something that may not be real. It might be a figment of their imagination. It might be something that they've conjured up themselves. What we do is we have a paranormal questionnaire. So we have an intake questionnaire. So when people contact us and they say, "Oh my God, these things are happening," we send them a questionnaire, and there are all kinds of questions on that questionnaire that make them think. When was the last thing that happened? What exactly happened? What are you experiencing? We ask them all kinds of questions. Some of them a little personal,
Hmm.
and sometimes at the end of this, 8-page questionnaire, they can determine for themselves by the answers to the questions that really it's not anything that is paranormal at all. It's a logical explanation. So we kind of weed them out.
Out of 100, let's say, out of 100 inquiries into somebody requesting you and your team to go to their home or their residence or their business to look at a paranormal problem, what would you say the go-to rate would be? And when I say go-to, the number of the cases out of 100 that you would actually go to.
Maybe 20.
Really are.
Yeah, maybe 20 that are real, or that we can determine, that there's definitely
Hmm.
something going on. Yeah, about 20.
What percentage would you say was the manifestation of something that the party believes is paranormal, yet is something that they themselves are manifesting or imagining?
Yeah, I'm going to say, probably about 60% of all of them. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, especially now, the paranormal has become so very popular.
Hmm.
And we saw an increase in it during, the lockdown.
Yep.
People were thinking about it. People were home. They were watching more and more paranormal TV.
Hmm.
And their imaginations really did get the best of them. And I think they still do to some degree. But there's so many different television shows out there, and they're so different. I mean, and I tell people it's okay to watch them. I mean, if you're interested in the paranormal, the best advice I could possibly give somebody is to read it all, watch it all,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, and the ugly, because from all of them, you learn something valuable. You really do.
Many years ago, I was one of in fact, I was the the consultant to the producers for the Canadian TV show Creepy Canada. And
Yes.
the TV series was it was in fact the very first Canadian paranormal TV show. And the producers, Brian O'Day and the other executive producers, were very adamant about maintaining the authenticity and the credibility and the historical value to each and every episode.
Interestingly enough, on Creepy Canada, there was an episode that featured a place here in Keswick called Sax's Fish and Chips. And it's still there. It's
Hmm.
not called Sax's Fish and Chips. As a matter of fact, it's up for sale now. But we actually had the distinct honor of going in there and doing an overnight investigation. And I can safely say that indeed it is haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, Creepy Canada. It was on the Discovery Channel. It was on Travel Channel. It was on most of the CTV network. Yeah, it was a great show. Loved doing it. Did it for 7, 8.
Show.
No, I did do it. Let's see. From I did the first show. I think I was working with him for 4 or 5 years. Great bunch to work with.
Wow.
Yeah. Curses. Are curses real? Or are they self-manifesting?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I've seen both sides of that. I think that a curse has as much power as you give it. And I also have seen something on the other side of that where somebody actually did find a bag filled with teeth and hair and all kinds of things. And it made their life a living hell. So, and I don't know, how that all came about. I'm still trying to figure that out in my mind. But all of these things happened prior to them actually finding this particular bag of goodies. And once they got rid of it, the good luck finally came into their lives. So try and explain that. I still am working on it. So
Coincidence?
Sorry?
Coincidence?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think could be. Are there coincidences, though? Most people in this field will say, oh, there are no coincidences. So,
Isn't that the truth? We've got about a minute and a half. What would you like to say to the X-Zone Nation tonight? If somebody is listening and they want to become a paranormal investigator like you,
Right.
What do you suggest they do?
Well, I think that they have to have an open mind. And again, they have to read, and watch, and make notes and try and decide for yourself why you're into this. What is, what is the aim? Do you want to help people? And if so, I think that's probably the paramount reason why you should get into this, is to help people deal with all of this nebulous stuff.
I'm sure there are people listening tonight who are saying, geez, I've had an experience, but I don't want to tell anybody because they're going to think that I'm a little strange. What do you have to say to them, those people?
Well, you have to find a safe space to share that information. And paranormal investigators are a safe space. We actually have public meetings at our local funeral home, and they're great because it's a safe space. Yeah, don't you love that?
I bet you people are dying to go to those.
They are. They absolutely are.
I guess your information's dead on.
It is. It is.
Pum. I could go on all night like this.
You could. I like that.
In the dead of the night, right? Okay, listen now. As much as I'd love to keep going with you, my dear friend, we must say so long for tonight. Please come back again and visit us. And X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour has been Lynda Quirino, and she is with the Georgina Paranormal Society, www.georginaparanormalsociety.weebly.com. Lynda, thank you very much for coming to us tonight, and the very best to you and the rest of your team.
Thank you, and likewise. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Lynda. X-Zone Nation, I'll be back on the other side of this break as we can, start hour number 2 tonight. After all, this is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca. And we'd like to welcome our latest affiliate in Midland, Michigan, WVEX 105.3 FM. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
I used to be a heart beating for someone, but the times have changed. The less I say, the more my